Welcome everyone, welcome to TestNG framework section. We'll start off with TestNG. We'll see how to install it now. TestNG is basically a unit testing framework which can be used to manage test cases. Basically, you can pass, fail or skip the test cases, run them multiple times with different sets of data, parallelly execute the test cases and all. Okay, and you can generate the reports as well and rerun the failed test cases. There are lots of things apart from this. So TestNG is very rich in feature. It can be used with Selenium to build tests and organize your test cases. Right, before I talk in depth about TestNG, let me talk about installation of TestNG. Alright, to install TestNG, it's a very easy thing. You have to just go to Eclipse, and in Eclipse you need to go to help and install new software. You will see a window like this. Okay, then open up your browser and just go to Google and type TestNG Eclipse. There is a plugin for Eclipse which can be installed. So you can go to the TestNG website over here, testng.org, right, and go to the install the plugin section. You will see the link installation, right, and in Eclipse you can install the plugin. Basically, you need to go to help, install new software and put this URL. Fine. If you put this URL over here, if I put it, I will see TestNG coming up in some time. Not immediately. You put the URL, click on enter button. This will take some time to load, but the version which is telling me to install is 7.3, which is the latest version of TestNG right now. Look, 7.3 is not stable. 7.0 version of TestNG is very stable, and I would recommend you to install that. In order to install that, just open this URL in the browser and you will see all the versions. This is 7.0. Click on it and you will get this URL. So copy the URL for 7.0 and paste it over here. Hit the enter button. Okay, you will see TestNG 7.0 coming up. In my case, it is installed. In case you have the latest version of TestNG, maybe 7.3 or 7.2 installed, and you want to uninstall it, you can click on this already installed link and scroll down and uninstall TestNG from here. Okay, right. So now, once you have put this URL, you select TestNG from here, click on next button, keep on clicking next, and in the end your Eclipse will restart. You might get a warning message or a small error message in between, so just ignore that if that comes up. So just restart your Eclipse in the end, and when Eclipse is restarted, you can go to Window, Show View, Other, and under Java you will be able to see TestNG. If this is there under Java, that means TestNG is properly installed as a plugin inside Eclipse. Now you can start using TestNG to build test cases and all. Okay, now before I move forward, let me tell you the actual usage of TestNG, how it can be used in writing Selenium scripts. Okay, suppose there is a client who comes to you and tells you that fine, you have 1000 or 10,000 test cases which have to be automated. Okay, so basically you will have different test cases which have to be executed one after another, or they have to be executed parallelly. Fine. Apart from running these test cases, you would also want that some data, your data, should be read from external files like Excel files or JSON files or properties files, because you don't want to hard code the data inside the test cases, right? Moreover, you would also want that some reports are generated. Some HTML reports, good HTML reports should be generated when the test cases execute. The reports should be having logs in them telling that fine what happened at every moment. Okay, it should have some success messages, some failure messages, and also screenshots of the errors. Right, and for every run, a different report should be generated. That means if I run my project 10,000 test cases at 6 a.m. in the morning, then one report file should be generated. But if I am running again at 9 a.m., then older reports should not be lost. New reports should be generated. Okay. Apart from that, these things, you would also want, or the client would want, that you want to integrate, say, Selenium grid in the project. Grid is to run the test cases parallelly, or you would like to use GitHub and Jenkins for continuous integration and for running the builds. If you don't know what GitHub is, if you don't know what Jenkins is, don't worry. As we proceed with the course, things will be very clear to you. Okay. So these are the general requirements from any client. Moreover, the client would also want you to email the reports to all the team members and all whenever the build runs. Okay, so you have multiple test cases to be implemented. You have multiple requirements which have to be catered to, right? So what we do is that we use this controller in between. This controller is nothing but TestNG. Or people also use JUnit or BDD frameworks like Cucumber or something. These are also controllers which can be used in between. So these are nothing but unit testing frameworks which give us a platform. These will read the data from some external file, call the test cases in a certain order, or if you want to skip some test cases, you can skip some test cases. These will help you generate the reports. These will help you interact with Grid, GitHub, Jenkins. So lots of things are there. Okay, this is just an overview. If you talk about Selenium script, then Selenium script is just in this blue box. When you learn Selenium, it is not just learning Selenium, it is learning TestNG, it is learning about data management, it is learning about report generation, it is learning about grid and all different things. Okay, so let's start with TestNG and see how good are the features of TestNG and how we can use them. Okay, so I have structurally distributed the whole TestNG into different parts. If you look at this, we are starting with installations and gradually we look at advanced features and all everything. So basically what I have done is that in first step we'll see the features of TestNG, then we'll see how to configure Maven with TestNG, and this can be really helpful in parallel execution of the test cases and rerunning of the failed test cases and all, and extent reporting. Okay, we'll see how to generate extent reports which are good HTML reports. And then most important thing is in step 4, we will be building an end-to-end project structure which will have everything which a normal Selenium project should have: reporting, base classes, data providers, and serial execution of tests, parallel executions, optional executions. Right, everything end to end would be explained in this. Right, so let's start. Okay, so what I'll do is that I'll make a new Java project, call it TestNG examples, and inside this project I'll make a new package known as test cases. So let's see how we can build test cases with the help of TestNG. Okay, now TestNG is not meant for Selenium, it is a unit testing framework, but because of its features we are using it with Selenium. Okay, now this is a new class I am making, search and by phone.java. So I'll just make a simple class, search and by phone, wherein suppose I have to go to a website and I want to search a phone and I want to buy it, right? So I'll just make a new test case like this, @test. This is known as an annotation. Okay, and then we write the function public void search. So this means that this search function is a test case. There is no main function in TestNG. Okay, there is nothing, no main function. You just have to move the move the mouse over the error and add the TestNG library in the project. You will see this is added, and then move the mouse and import the test annotation. So this @test signifies that this search is a test case, and I can write over here searching phone. In order to run this test case, you can right click on the file and you will get the option run as TestNG test. Okay, and this thing will execute, and in the console you will be seeing the output coming up like this, that is total test runs are 1, failures are 0, and searching phone would be printed. That means this function is executed, this test case is executed. So there is no main function in TestNG. You have the @test annotations, and moreover you will also get a tab over here, results of running the class. If you click on this tab, you will get the diagrammatic output that this is the search test which took around 22 milliseconds to execute. Fine. And moreover, if you right click on the project, right click on the project, refresh the project, you will see a test output folder. This test output folder holds the default HTML reports which are generated. Okay, you can just say, for example, go to the project properties and go to resource, open the folder where project is lying, and you will see test output folder again, and you can open this index.html file. Right, I will drag it onto my browser and open it. So you see that? So this is not a very good report. This is a very, you can say, old-fashioned report, and you just cannot give it to the client as well. And moreover, whenever you run the code, the old reports are lost, the new ones are generated. So we don't use these default TestNG reports. We use better reports known as extent reports, which we will be looking at as we proceed with the course. Fine. Now, moving ahead, this was the test case. I can also build one more test in this file. I can write @test public void select phone. After searching the phone, you can select it. Okay, so you can have different functions. Each function can have @test annotation, and each function will become a test case. How do you fail the test cases and all? How do you bring dependency between the test cases? I am going to talk about that in some time. Right, now you can have another test known as checkout. So I'll just write over here checking out. Okay, so you can run this. Once you run it as TestNG test, next time you can directly click on the run button on the top and it will run as TestNG test, and all the 3 tests will execute. In the results of running test also you can see that. But the order is not same. See that checkout is executed first, then search, and then select phone. What we wanted was that, searching for a phone should be first, and then selecting, and then checking out. Right. So in order to maintain the order, you have to write some priorities. You have to give the test cases some priorities. Don't think that tests will execute from top to bottom. No, they will not execute like this. You have to run it like with priorities, that this is the priority 1, this is the priority 2, this is the priority 3. So you should have priority of the test cases set. That means this is the highest priorities test case. So when you run this now, the order of execution would change, and it would be the right order which you want. Okay, so you can prioritize your test cases in a single Java file like this. Moreover, You can have different Java files with different test cases, and you can batch run them as well. I'll talk about that in the coming time. At times people ask me that fine, if I have my sanity test cases and I just want to run my sanity test, so how do I do that? Or for example, I first want to run all the test cases on Chrome and then I want to run all the test cases on Mozilla. So how do I do that? Gradually I will answer all these questions. So just be with me, understand the features of TestNG first, that what are the components of TestNG, then we'll be doing the configuration part as well. Okay, so this was search and by phone. Now how do you pass or fail the test cases? That is done with the help of assertions. For example, I'll make a new class over here known as login test. Inside the login test, I'll make a test annotation known as public void do login. Okay, and you import this test annotation. Right. Now, what is testing? In testing, we have some expected result and we have some actual result. You have to compare the expected result with the actual result. If expected result and actual result they don't match, then of course there has to be some kind of assertion or something. Okay, so to make sure that expected result and or there has to be some kind of error or something, to make sure that both of them are matching, we use assertions. We write over here assert. We use the assert class and we write assert dot assert equals. That is, make sure that both these values are equal. So you give the actual result and the expected result. Generally the expected result comes up from some text file or Excel file. The actual result comes from the application. Fine, using the driver commands. And assert is an inbuilt class. Assert equals a static function. Make sure assert class is imported from org.testng package. At times people import it from JUnit package as well. That gives a problem. Right. If I run this code, everything will run fine. It says total test runs are 1, failures are 0. Right. However, if expected and actual results they don't match, then you will see that it will fail. Failures are 1. And in the results tab you will see it failing. Expected ABC X but was found ABC. Okay. Similarly, you have got other assertion commands as well. For example, one is assert dot assert true. In this assert dot assert true command, you can give some condition. For example, we can write like this: 5 greater than 2, and this message is nothing but your error message. Whatever is your custom error message, you can give over here. Now what does this assertion do? Like, why did I give a condition over here? Look, if this assertion is failing, that is, if this condition fails, if this condition evaluates to false, then assertion will fail and this particular error message will come up in the reports. Okay, if I run it this time, you will see that this thing is passing because 5 greater than 2 is true. But however, if I write 5 greater than 12, this condition is false. So if it is false and I am asserting true, then I will get a failure, and in the reports you will see error message coming up. Whatever is the error message you type, that will come up over here. Okay, whatever error message you write over here. Now where is this useful? Suppose while working with Selenium, you have to throw an error if in case say some element is not present. So you can call the function is element present, and you can send the identifier of the element, maybe the ID of the element. So this function will return you true if case element is present, false if element is not present. So if this function returns you that fine, the element on the page is not present, so you can throw the error message that element not found. Okay, we will make this function later on, not right now. Okay, I'm just giving you an idea that how assert true can be used. Okay, you can check the presence of the element. If it is not present, you can throw the error message over here. Okay, sometimes you are at a place or situation where you are very sure that the test has failed. For example, you get 404 error, or you have to log in but you don't see the logout button after logging in. That means you are not logged in. So you are very sure at times that the test has failed. So in that case, you can write assert.fail command. Assert.fail will not think about anything. It will simply fail the test case. Okay, it will fail the test case. If you want to give some reason for failure as well, you can use assert.fail with some error message, with your own custom error message. Okay, that is say 404 error, page not found. So whatever error message you give over here will be coming up in the reports as well. Okay, so this is about assertions. This is how you can fail the test, but there is a catch over here. In case of assertions, suppose I write over here system.out.println I write A and I write B over here and I run my program. In case the assertion error comes up, that is a failure comes up, the program will stop on that line. You see A is printed but B is not printed. Okay, so in case, if this assertion is failing on line number 13, then none of the lines after line number 13 will be executed. So assertion is a critical failure, that is, it's a major failure, just stop everything. It basically means that. But sometimes you have failures wherein you just need to report the failure, but you need to continue with the test. For example, you have the title of the web page. If the title is not matching, there is some error mistake or something, maybe you can just report it in the reports that fine, the title is not matching, but you would like to continue with the flow. Out here you are just stopping with the flow. You have to stop at a critical error. Some errors are not critical, some failures are not critical. Okay, so for that we use assertions, but we use soft assertions. This assert class over here gives you hard assertions. Okay, it will definitely stop the control of the program, the flow of the program. So what we do is that we use soft assertions, right? How do we use the soft assertions? I'm going to suppose make a new class over here, validate user registration test. Okay, suppose there is a test case in which I have to say validate user registration. Okay, I'm just taking a dummy example. Okay, now import the test annotation. Now there is a class known as soft assert. You create the object of soft assert class. This class can help you report multiple failures. Okay, you can write over here, same, the functions are same in this object. You can write soft assert dot assert equals. You can compare two values. I can compare ABC with say ABC, or I can compare ABC with XYZ. So obviously this assertion will fail. Or I can also write soft assert dot assert true, some condition 5 greater than 11 with some error message. So this is obviously going to fail as well. Alright, so in soft assert you can add multiple failures and those failures will keep on getting added and you can report all of them in the reports. Okay, similarly you can, if you deliberately want to fail the test case, you can write soft assert.fail with some error message. For example, 404 error came up. Alright, but in case of soft assertions, like if I run this program, you will see that it will just say that total test runs are 1. There are no failures. Failures are 0 in this particular test case. In case of soft assertions, you have to be sure that you write this line in the end. Soft assert all. This line is the key. Okay. This line will add all the soft assertion failures in the reports. In this case, 3 failures should be reported in the reports. One is this, and the other one is this. This one is pass. Both of them are equal. So if you run this, you will see that total test runs are 1, and although it is saying failures are 1, it means that one test case has failed. In that test case, if you go to the results, you will see 3 failures: expected XYZ, found ABC, error message, and 404 error came up. So you can have 3 different failure messages in one report. So it depends on the project, it depends on the situation, whether we have to use the soft assertion or hard assertions. Okay. Right. Generally, critical failures can be managed with hard assertions. You will get a clear insight into these as we proceed and build the projects as well. Fine. Now, coming back to the test case. Say this was my search and by phone test. At times, you would like to skip a test case. Okay. That is, suppose I want to skip the search test case. I don't want to search for the phone. I don't want to run this test case. In these cases, what we do is that we just keep a flag, say equated to true or false. And generally we read this flag from some external file like XLS or JSON file. We keep the information in those files that which test case has to be executed, which test case should be skipped. Okay, so you can check for the flag in the search test case. That is, in case the flag is true, that means you have to skip the test case. You can simply write throw new skip exception. So failing the test case and skipping the test case is different thing. Skipping means you are not executing. So in case the skipping flag is true, right now I have hard coded true, but later on we will be writing the logics wherein we will be checking the flag from the external file. Okay, in case the flag is true, you will skip the test case and you import this annotation, skip exception. So if I run my search and by phone test now, see it is skipping. Yellow means it has skipped. But however, the other 2 tests are executing. But if you are not searching for a phone, how can you select the phone and how can you check out? So if the search, this particular test, if it is failing or if it is skipping, then I don't need to execute the other 2 test cases. So how do you introduce the dependency? Okay, that can be introduced very easily. You can write over here in select phone, that is, say it is depends on methods, you can specify in the array that it is dependent on the search test, okay, the search method. And similarly the checkout, it is dependent on, you can specify on the search as well as on select phone, that if both of them they are executed successfully, if any one of them fails in between, then this one will not execute. So if I run this code now, my search will skip, but select phone will also be skipped and checkout will also be skipped. See, all three are yellow. In case I keep this flag to false, then I will not be skipping the search test, and if I run this code, you will see that it's running all three of them. In case some error comes up in selecting of a phone, select phone, I write just over here assert.fail. I simply fail this test case. So in case I run this, you will see that the last test, which is checkout, is skipped. This one got failed. So this is a pretty simple behavior which actually we want to implement. Okay, that is dependency between the test cases, prioritizing the test cases, skipping the test cases, then you can fail the test cases, or you can use soft assertions to implement multiple failures as well. Now suppose you have to pass over attributes or states from one test to another. That means basically you have to pass over some value from search test to the select phone test. Okay, for example, searching for a phone, you end up finding some, say, phone name in the end which you are comfortable in buying, and in select phone function you want to send the name of that phone. That means output of one test has to be the input of another test case. How do we pass variables from one test to another test? That can very easily be done with the help of test context. All the test cases under the current test run or the current file run will share the same test context. Okay, there is an interface, inbuilt interface inside TestNG, and that interface is iTest context. With the help of this interface, you can share important information between the test cases. For this test case, I can send the iTest context as input reference inside this particular test case. Okay, similarly over here as well and over here as well. All these context references will be pointing towards the same object. It's already initialized, it will already be sent inside this function, everything is inbuilt. Okay, you just have to pass it as a parameter inside the function. And suppose I can write over here, I can write context dot set attribute. I can set the attribute like, say, phone name, and in value I can write 1 plus 70. Okay, so in my test context I can set an attribute named as phone name, and over here I can retrieve it inside this function. I can write over here context dot get attribute phone name. So you can take it in a variable. Okay, get attribute function returns you the object type. Actually you have to cast it into a string, and you can print over here selecting phone this particular name. So you can, when the search function runs, it runs before the select phone test. In the search function, inside the context, I am setting the phone name. And in the select phone, from the context, I am retrieving the phone name and printing it. If I run this, you will see that in the output, it is printing select phone 1 plus 7T, selecting phone 1 plus 7T. So this phone number has actually, or the phone name has actually come from the search function. Sometimes you have say one test case which generates a booking. In the end, it will generate a booking number. That booking number has to be shared inside another test case. So you can share with the help of iTest context. However, this is my login test. This is in a separate Java file. Test cases in separate Java file right now in the current implementation cannot share the context. Later on they can, I'll tell you. But in the current implementation, you cannot share the context of do login function with say search or other functions. Okay. Generally the tests which are there inside the same Java file, they definitely can share the context very easily. Okay. Right.